Jews' homeland. And Jews have always lived there. You can look it up. It's in this book called the Bible. It says the Jews built a temple with a really big wall 7 centuries before Muhammad or Islam ever existed. And sure as shit, you can still go there and touch it. Calling Jews colonizers in Israel is like calling Native Americans colonizers here. It's ridiculous. To mark the October 7th, I guarantee that the side of the country that voted for Trump, they hear Nazi and they just go, oh, you're calling us Nazis? First of all, it's a bit of a false premise, as bad as they are. And also, it just says to them, well, you just hate us. And one thing I've learned in recent years is that the one thing that's more powerful than money is hate. You have the court, you don't have the Senate, you lost the House, you lost everything. You lost everything with your stupid boutique issues and your insistence that Joe Biden was a handsome young triathlete who was completely capable.
In today's deeply divided America, whenever someone from the Trump-supporting side hears the word Nazi, they instantly think, oh, so now you're calling us Nazis too. It's not just a misunderstanding, it's a complete shutdown of conversation. And honestly, while there are major flaws, painting everyone with that brush is not only unfair, it's counterproductive. To them, it just sounds like pure hatred. And if recent years have taught us anything, it's that hatred can be even more powerful than money. After losing control of the courts, the Senate, and the House, the left finds itself crumbling under the weight of its own misguided priorities, pushing boutique, irrelevant issues, and pretending Joe Biden is some unstoppable young athlete, instead of facing hard truths. In a moment that stunned viewers, Bill Maher, once hailed as a proud voice of leftist activism, finally broke ranks. In a brutal takedown that aired live on TV, Maher dismantled every major woke Democrat talking, point without holding back. With sharp wit and unapologetic honesty, he even showed unexpected respect toward Trump, leaving his woke guest absolutely speechless. This wasn't just a debate, it was one of the harshest reality checks Bill Maher has ever delivered. From shredding the illusions of woke politics to exposing the hollow promises one by one, this epic moment is packed with raw truth you won't want to miss.
The Supreme Court is hearing about the case in Maryland about a couple of religious people. It's really a religious-based case. They do not want trans books that teach kids that some people are trans in the schools. And here's Justice Amy Coney Barrett. She's quoting from one of the books. When we're born, people make a guess about our gender and label us boy or a girl based on our body parts. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. Now, I think that's bullshit, okay? No, they're almost always right. If you have a dick, you're almost always a boy. I think it's okay to teach kids, first there's a default setting for humans, and if you're not part of that default setting, it doesn't make you a worse person. These things happen. I mean, it's on the right. They don't even believe that trans is a thing. It is a thing, but it's not a thing that happens like this, where, well, we don't know, jump ball, every baby, it's such a thing. And even Elena Kagan, one of the most liberal judges, said, I suspect there are a lot of non-religious parents who also weren't all that thrilled about this. This is the kind of issue, it's one of those 80-20 issues that the Democrats have been on the wrong.
This isn't the first time the woke crowd has fumbled a clear 2080 issue, and true to form, they just keep leaning harder into the very mistakes that cost them. Let's be honest, no matter how much sense Bill Maher makes, the Democrats aren't about to take his advice seriously. But the best part, Bill's not the kind of guy to back down quietly. He's going to keep calling it out loud and clear whether they can handle it or not.
And hear over and over again the assertion of complete inaccuracies that Ukraine is responsible for starting the war with Russia. There's so many of them, and they keep asserting these things, expecting us to believe that the climate crisis is a hoax invented by the Chinese, that windmills cause cancer, that coal is clean, and they try to assert with the force of power their own special version of alternative facts.
Yeah, but I guarantee that the side of the country that voted for Trump, they hear Nazi and they just go, oh, you're calling us Nazis? First of all, it's a bit of a false premise, as bad as they are. And also, it just says to them, well, you just hate us. And one thing I've learned in recent years is that The one thing that's more powerful than money is hate. When people hate you so much, and when they think you hate them so much, even the money goes out the window.
Well,
Not that I think Trump is going to survive if he takes the economy down, but this idea that, well, just to take a random example, you can't even break bread with them. We hate you so much that
Well,
you're not even,
look, I know
you're deplorable and you're not worth having dinner with.
I know that you've been attacked on this, and I want to. Yeah. Has anybody heard of it?
Yet again, this is a textbook example of a 2080 issue slipping right out of the Democrats' hands. But at this point, it's not just about losing, it's about the way they keep pretending to be compassionate leaders, even as their actions quietly push a deeper agenda that's unraveling the very fabric of America. And now, Bill Maher is stepping up, calling them out boldly and exposing the truths they desperately wish to keep hidden.
Jews' homeland. And Jews have always lived there. You can look it up. It's in this book called the Bible. It says the Jews built a temple with a really big wall 7 centuries before Muhammad or Islam ever existed, and sure as shit, you can still go there and touch it. Calling Jews colonizers in Israel is like calling Native Americans colonizers here. It's ridiculous. To mark the October 7th anniversary, we must launch a campaign to educate young Americans about the Middle East. And the way I'd like to begin that process is by addressing an open letter to Chapel Roan, a great new recording artist who, like a Hezbollah pager, is really blowing up. Chapel, if you think it was repressive growing up queer in the Midwest, try the Mideast. Chapel, did you know that for 2,000 years, Palestine was like an Uber driver with a 3-star rating? Nobody wanted it. And there was never any Arab country called Palestine. Chapel, you're not wrong that oppression is bad, or that Palestinian and many other Muslim populations are oppressed and deserve to be freed. You just have it completely ass backwards as to who is doing the oppressing. Hamas is a terrorist mafia that took over Gaza. These are the oppressors. And when you make it all about Israel, you take the pressure off of them. You enable them. Gender may not be binary, but right and wrong, kind of it.
At this point, they don't even have the credibility to criticize Trump anymore. The only ones who've clearly taken the biggest losses are Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Just take one look at Biden. His expression says everything. He looks completely drained and more lost than ever, almost like a walking case study of TDS in its final stage. And just wait until you catch the next clip. It's absolute chaos. One desperate clown unraveling live on Bill Maher's show, practically done self-destructing for everyone to see. This is what it looks like when reality finally comes crashing down.
And to think that the best thing you can do when you have absolutely no power is to ignore the people who have all of it is straight up delusional.
I mean, you can't go a day without thinking about what he's done to this country, because he's such a little baby that he's thrown 250 years of democracy out the window by not accepting the results of I mean, it's so crazy. He's such a sociopath. He's so insane. He just couldn't admit to losing. And we know he lost. He knows he lost. And look how he's fooled everybody. He's convinced all these people that he didn't lose. He's such a sick man. He's so sick. Anyway, no, it hasn't impacted me at all.
As he speaks, it's painfully obvious he's just spinning nonsense. But here's the so-called silver lining he tries to sell. He insists that Trump's presidency has been such a complete failure that even his loyal supporters are turning against him. Of course, anyone thinking clearly can see right through this desperate narrative flip. The truth happening on the ground paints an entirely different picture, one they're trying hard to cover up.
100 days is that the bad news is it's the worst first 100 days in U.S. presidential history. I can't think of a presidency that had it worse. But the good news, I think, for the country is it's the worst first 100 days in U.S. presidential history. For precisely the reason that you suggest, Bill, which is that a lot of the country that voted for President Trump because they didn't like the course of the country under his predecessor, because they were mad, because they thought stuff needed to be broken up and disrupted, are waking up to the reality of just how much worse it can get. And I'm hearing from so many friends who voted for Trump, who remember the first Trump administration as being an era, at least until COVID, of prosperity, and saying, hang on a second, 100% tariffs, I'm losing half of my workforce, I can't afford things, the price of consumer goods is still going up, this is not what I voted for. And that's a relief, because if it had been a successful first 100 days, if it had been just a little less bad, people would say, well, what's the problem if we're not observing due process? Or what's the problem if we're defying the Supreme Court? That would be even more worrisome than what we have now.
The wildest thing is, it's not even outsiders tearing down their story anymore. It's their own media, after years of carefully crafting a false narrative, spinning lies, and playing political games. Everything they built is collapsing, and now it's their own insiders who are pulling back the curtain and exposing the truth for everyone to see.
Talk about Trump voters and how they feel. Do they regret their vote?
I mean, this is the big question, right? I hear all these stories, all these articles, all the Trump voters, they regret what they did back in 2024. I'm here to tell you, very few of them regret what they did back in 2024. What are we talking about? Trump voters looking back at 2024, we got a new poll out. The poll was conducted this month. What percentage would change their vote to a different candidate? We're talking just 2%, just 2%. That's not even a wide spot on the road. And then there's this additional 1% who